Sorry, I normally have a glass of wine and a little dink when I'm asking for some quiet, so many apologies about that. Welcome everybody here today. Thank you very much indeed, Tom, for chairing that panel beforehand. I don't know about you, but that certainly gives us all, I think, food for thought about what can be doing and what where we're at right now. So hopefully not as, yes, well done. It gives us a bit of direction and just to know that together we're all kind of going through this process of something that's been thrown at us. But I think the quicker that we get to dealing with the wholesale theft that has gone on around this from your works, I think the better. So I think something to be aware of. Anyway. I'll start off on a bit of a better note. I'd like to welcome you all to our 45th Annual General Meeting here at the Royal Society of Arts, for those of us that are here today. I'm also really delighted to see some former directors here in person. Really nice to see those who have helped shape ALCS into the organisation it is today from where they've sat on the board before now. So wonderful to see so many of you. It's been several years now since we've held our AGM in London, and I hope you'll agree that this is a lovely venue. The last time I was here was actually for my daughter's wedding, which was held immediately after lockdown, having been postponed 3 times. So I have very happy memories here, although I do have to admit I'm still paying the bill. And a very big welcome to all those attending online as well. I mustn't forget you, and hopefully another time you'll be able to come along to one of the ALCS events. Before we update you on the work we've carried out over the past year, I'm just going to go over housekeeping rules again. I know Tom did it earlier, but just in case anybody new has come up, and if there is a fire or anything like that, the fire alarm will go off. No planned fire alarms, so follow a member of our staff who are near, I think, all of the doors. Alternatively, if it's really bad, run after them because they'll be there before you. And also, please do make sure that if you put your phones back on at for the coffee, etc., could you please make sure that it's back to silence for now. So now it's my pleasure to reintroduce you to the chair of ALCS, Tom Chatfield, who will be chairing this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Barbara. I've introduced myself earlier, but I just want to reiterate what an enormous pleasure it is to be here in capacity as chair of ALCS for the first time. I've been a board member for 6 years and a member for longer than that. This is my first as chair, and it's a joy and a privilege. It has also been a big year for ALCS. So in March, our distribution payment was the biggest and to the largest number of members in our 46-year history. I'd love to guarantee this will continue to increase, but it's an uncertain, unsteady world, as we've been hearing, and ALCS income is no different. However, much work is being done by the team behind the scenes to preserve and build on many of the long-standing income streams that we receive for you, for writers, for our members. And at the same time, we're very focused on the future and how writers' works are being used in the digital world to ensure that wherever your works are used, you are remunerated fairly. We're working hard to understand the many issues, we just touched upon some of them this morning, around generative AI and how you might be affected. And this includes, of course, exploring what an effective policy response would and should look like. There are no easy answers, but we have developed a set of principles for policymakers that we hope echo your sentiments. And as you will have seen earlier, it's a topic that's very close to my own heart. I want to see a future where creators can use AI to their advantage while avoiding exploitation. ALCS has always been guided by the mantra, no use without payment, and we believe that AI should be no different. So in the short term, we're working with the Copyright Licensing Agency to develop extensions to their existing licenses that will permit text and data mining, enabling organizations to copy work for analysis purposes, which is quite distinct from generative AI, where works are ingested to train systems, as we've seen with things like ChatGPT. For these models, we're working to ensure that copyright is enforced and that authors who do choose to include their works in such systems get appropriate license fees. And of course, we will be consulting further with members before participating in any schemes for generative AI. Closer to home, I'm delighted to announce we've had 2 new additions to the board of directors. There was no election this year, but following a skills review and the departure of Faye Bird from the ALCS board, the decision was made to co-opt 2 new writers to the board for the specific skills that they bring us. Kit Fan and Edwin Thomas. We have Kit with us in the front row here. Please do say hi to him. Thank you very much. And Edwin cannot be with us, but is very active on the board already. And they have a wealth of knowledge about corporate governance, risk, and finance, as well as, of course, exceptional literary talent. I'm looking forward to working with them both in the coming months and years, and we have already been benefiting greatly from their expertise. Corporate governance is one of the building blocks of an effective organisation, and it's crucial that we get it right. So we are embarking on a review of our corporate governance, as well as the structure of our board and committees, to make sure that we're working in an optimal way. And I will report back on any changes that we want to make. And finally, we are developing our approach to equality, diversity and inclusion for staff and members, as well as how we as an organisation can play our part in considering environmental issues in the way we do business. We will be implementing these positive changes and, of course, reporting on them in future communications with our members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. I made an A101 error by not introducing myself to you at the beginning. Sorry about that. I had it on one script and not the other, and I was reading from the wrong one. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Barbara Hayes. I am the Chief Executive. I've been the Chief Executive for just over a year now. Although I have been at ALCS, and I'm sure I've seen many of you before at various other AGMs, but I think I'm coming up to my 20th year. So hopefully I know a little bit about the company. Anyway, as Tom said, it's been a very busy year, and first for me as Chief Executive. We collected a record 43.4 million, our highest ever amount, and 9.8% more than the previous year. We also paid out a record £44.8 million to our members, an increase of 9.3% over the 2021-22 figures. I'd really like to say that was due to me being CEO, but it clearly isn't. We have a wonderful team around us making sure that we get the monies in. So this was an incredible achievement, made possible not only by the impressive creative output of our members, but also the diligent and effective work of our staff who chase down this money and get it out to you. And this year I think it feels better than usual, because knowing that there's a cost of living crisis going on, I think it's really great that we've managed to get a record distribution there. At ALCS, we value our amazing team who work across so many areas to support our organisation's purpose. With that in mind, and technology willing, as long as AI hasn't got in here, we'd like to introduce a short film showcasing the work we've been undertaking over the past year.
Over the last year or so, there's been lots of change at ALCS. We said goodbye to Owen Atkinson, our CEO of 16 years, and welcomed Barbara Hayes to the helm. Barbara has been incredibly busy making the world a better place, not just for writers, but for ALCS staff too. This change in leadership coincided with the move to our new office, a hybrid working environment that has allowed us to streamline costs while continuing to provide excellent customer service to our members. Part of the office move meant improving security and user experience by moving our IT systems over to the cloud. A huge job, but essential for us to progress as an organisation. Another significant project that got underway this year is the Strategic Systems Review, where we'll be upgrading and developing our IT payment systems for the future. This is a massive undertaking, but crucial for ensuring we can service all our members' accounts as effectively and efficiently as possible. In February, we hosted the ALCS Annual Awards as a standalone event at the Goldsmiths Centre in London. To present the Educational Writers Award in partnership with the Society of Authors and the Ruth Rendell Award with our partners at the National Literacy Trust was a privilege, and we had lots of fun celebrating writers who have devoted their careers to literacy and education. To prepare for the March distribution, our published works and audiovisual teams worked tirelessly to process every work logged, and worked closely with our international partners to collect as much income as possible for the use of our members' works around the world, whether that was the transmission of a script or an international library loan. And in March, we hit a new record by paying over £31 million to over 100,000 members for the first time. This saw us trending on Twitter and gaining over 1,000 new members in just 1 week. It's important to us that we operate to the highest standards of efficiency and security. As part of this, we managed an independent investment review, providing assurance that our portfolio of investments still meets the company's aims and objectives. We've been streamlining our database and improving the way we analyse business data to set targets, better monitor income and ensure accuracy. In 2022, we commissioned more research into authors' earnings, surveying 60,000 writers across the UK. The results may have shocked, but perhaps not surprised you, revealing that the profession is struggling to sustain itself as creativity continues to be undervalued and disproportionately rewarded. There were, however, some positives to take from this. The first Women's Prize for Non-Fiction was launched in response to the inequalities found in our report. More good news, after years of campaigning for a study into the benefits of public lending right at the UN, our advocacy team played a key role in seeing this proposal passed at the World Intellectual Property Organization. We hope the study will inform governments around the world of the immense benefits that PLR systems provide to writers and wider society. Campaigning on issues that directly affect writers has always been at the heart of what we do. This year, we launched our principles on artificial intelligence and authors, emphasising that human creativity must always be respected and remain central to the creative process. We're also fighting for a freelancer commissioner to be appointed to government, to represent freelance creators, promote better working terms and inform policy decisions. This has been debated in the House of Lords, and we're excited to take the campaign further over the coming year. Copyright education is always a priority for us. We've produced new resources to promote better understanding of copyright, as well as running quizzes for primary and secondary students to test their knowledge of how copyright works. On a larger scale, we sponsored the National Literacy Trust Reading Champions Quiz for another year, in which we get the chance to ask students across the country tough questions on literary copyright. Our work at an international level is being recognised too. ALCS provides a secretariat for the International Authors Forum, which campaigns for authors worldwide. This year, the IAF was admitted to and took part in the UNESCO body on cultural legislation for the first time. Reteach, the educational platform administered by our rights and licensing team, was nominated for the prestigious Education Resources Awards and the Teach Secondary Awards. This recognition highlights the value Reteach brings, both in refreshing the curriculum offer and supporting teachers and decision makers to build lesson plans. Thank you to everyone who helped make the past year such a success for ALCS. As writers continue to face unprecedented challenges, from artificial intelligence to new digital platforms, the coming year promises to be busy. We will continue to champion authors every step of the way and ensure that their rights and livelihoods are protected.
Thank you, and thanks for the team for putting that together. Thanks. It's at times like this you realise actually how much we do, and sometimes it's good to remind ourselves. So anyway, ALCS is guided in everything we do by our purpose, which is to support, champion, and fight for authors. We have a set of values that we work by and that feed into everything that we do and strive for. As an organisation, we're bold. We need to be bold to effectively fight for the rights of our members. We take huge pride in our work and in the way that we work for you, our members. And our work must always have an impact on you in the income you receive from us, but also an impact in the way that we amplify the collective voice of writers. We have a 5-year strategic plan which sets out 5 priorities for us as an organisation. We'll support our members' ability to write by increasing their income. No mean feat, I have to say. We'll educate as many people as possible and promote the respect for copyright. We'll make the complex easy through technology, data, and our committed workforce. We'll celebrate the value writers bring to our world, fight for their rights, and give them a powerful collective voice. And we'll always aim to operate in an ethical and environmentally conscious way. The film you've just seen shows the work that we've been doing in a number of these areas, but there are 3 priorities from our strategic plan that I'd like to cover in more detail. We'll support our members' ability to write by increasing their income. Obviously, this is our highest priority and the core of our business. There have been changes in the collective licensing landscape since Brexit, but despite us no longer being in the EU, we maintain and really do work hard at excellent relationships with our European partners and continue to work closely with them to ensure we collect as much of money as we can for your work, due for your works. Closer to home, we continue to foster excellent relationships with the Copyright Licensing Agency, who license and collect around 2/3 of ALCS's income, as well as with their members, DACS, Pixel, and Publishers Licensing Services. Our relationships with the writers' unions, as you can see today with Nicola being here from the Society of Authors, remain strong and always engaged on issues affecting our members. We'll make the complex easy through technology, data, and our committed workforce. One of the items mentioned in the video is that we have embarked on a large-scale strategic review of our systems. This is going to be a big, yes, expensive, and very time-consuming project, but a necessary one to ensure that we can continue to pay our growing membership and operate in an adaptable and responsive way to the new income streams we receive. For a small organisation, this is a big challenge, but one that we're all committed to getting right. And the third one is we'll aim to operate in an ethical and environmentally conscious way. And it's important that we do the right thing here, not the easy things in these areas. As Tom said, we are looking at our equality and equity, diversity and inclusion approach to both staff and members. This means working with partners to examine our internal policies and to make sure we operate in a way that is fair to all staff, no matter their background or abilities. You'll find our EDI policy on our website, though as ever, this should be seen as an evolving policy. We're also currently looking at how we can engage all our members to ensure different writing communities can benefit from the work and support of ALCS, and you'll likely be hearing from us on this matter in the near future. Our environmental, social and governance work is also important to us. We're working with partners who will help us audit our environmental footprint and work with us to develop targets going forward. We've already started to diminish our environmental impact by working at a WeWork space, which lowers our energy usage significantly. But this is only the start, and we hope to be reporting back at the next AGM with a broader view of our carbon footprint and our plans to mitigate it. From the social perspective, we are now fully hybrid working with staff attending the office 2 days a week. We work flexible hours and believe we offer a good work-life balance to our colleagues. Though I have to say at distribution time, we do see an incredible dedication with staff checking in at evenings and weekends to make sure that we remain on target for our distributions, and the elation when we get ahead of target makes it all worthwhile. Attracting and retaining dedicated staff is a big priority for us, and we are currently carrying out a pay and benefits review to ensure that we are competitive in the marketplace. As Tom also mentioned, we're undertaking a governance review. We haven't had one for quite some time, so it is appropriate that we review our governance practices to ensure they are as current and effective as possible. Again, any changes will be reported at the next AGM, especially if we need to make any changes to our Articles of Association. And finally, I haven't spoken much about the fantastic advocacy work that we've done over the past year. I'm very grateful not only to have a proactive team who are looking at the issues and income streams that would help support writers, but to also have one of the leading AI thinkers in our chair, Tom Chatfield. Tom has spoken on this issue at the UK government, the European Parliament, and at international conferences. I'm sure he's fed up of talking about AI by now. But anyway, whilst we have a gem here, we want to make the most of him. So at this time of great uncertainty, it's so valuable to have a chair who can articulate, as you've seen, both the benefits that AI can bring to society, as well as the reality of what it means for authors and how we can support them in this new age. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Barbara. Thank you. Right. And that now brings us onto the formal section of the AGM. I'm not going to keep jumping up and down. I'm going to sit here. And I would like to introduce agenda item number 1, which is to receive and adopt the Board of Directors' report and accounts for the period 1st April 2022 to 31st of March 2023. And to talk us through this, I would like to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Mark Bispam, to speak. Thank you very much, Mark.
I'll jump up. I'm younger than you. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Bispam. As you just heard, I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Alcs, and it's my role to give you an overview of the financial results of the company for the year to the 31st of March 2023. Hopefully, you will all already have had sight of the detail of the Directors' report and accounts that are included in the annual report and available on the ALCS website. So I intend to just run through a brief summary of the main highlights of the year. And what a good year it's been. Licence income increased by 9.8% to a record 43.4 million. We collected money from 35 different countries, from as far afield as Colombia to Japan, from Norway to New Zealand. And we distributed a record 44.8 million to our members, 9.3% more than last year. This means we once again collected and distributed more than £1 million for each member of staff at ALCS, a truly great achievement. Since ALCS started, we have now collected and distributed over £670 million of secondary royalty income to authors and their beneficiaries, which is money that otherwise would not have been there. Investment income was up at almost £1 million this year, which covered around 18% of our cost base. We use this income to defray expenses, which help us keep our commission rates as low as possible for the benefit of our existing members. At the end of March, the fair market value of our portfolio was £2.1 million more than the cost. The Board and the Finance and Audit Committee regularly monitor the portfolio and also review the performance of our individual investment managers. This year, we made an operating surplus, excluding the fair value movement on investments, of £685,141, which the Board has decided to return to members as a commission refund in March 2024. This reduces the headline commission rate from 10% to 8.3%. If we now look at the trend of results over the last 10 years, the increases in the key figures clearly show the progress we have made over that period. Licence income has increased by 41% and royalties paid by 50%. And despite all the major system improvements, we've made and are still making, and our membership growing by 65% during that period, costs have been kept under control, rising by 62%. Indeed, costs per member have actually fallen by 1.6%. Moving on now to the Statement of Financial Position, this shows the company's assets and liabilities as at 31st of March 2023. Our total assets decreased by 8.8% to 46.7 million, as we paid out more than we collected in the year. The main elements of this are our investments and cash holdings. All our investments are made using a medium to long-term horizon with a view to maintaining the value of our assets in real terms and delivering an income which, as I mentioned earlier, is used to keep commission rates down. Our creditors also decreased slightly during the year to 41.2 million, the vast majority of which is money due to writers which has yet to be distributed. The unrealised surplus on our investments also decreased this year, meaning our total reserves stand at 5.5 million at year end. I think and hope you will agree with me that once again we have an excellent set of results, and I therefore commend these accounts to the members. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Thank you. Fantastic. And now before...
Can I say it's very rare for a finance guy to get applause. So
yes, you can milk it. And before we ask members to vote, I'd like to ask if anyone has any questions that specifically relate to the report and the accounts. Just a little bit of housekeeping for this. If you're watching via Zoom, then of course, please do feel free to ask a question, and we will try to answer these too. As before, I'll be looking over there for any questions coming in online. And also, can I kindly ask you to keep the questions relevant to this particular agenda item? And if you have individual questions pertaining to yourself, there'll be plenty of time for that at the end in the reception. You can speak to myself and ALCS staff. We're very proud of the fact that our staff are very available to members online, and we will be delighted to follow up with you on an individual basis if there's something you want to explore with us. Finally, could I ask you to wait for the microphone to reach you before speaking, and to introduce yourself before asking your question for the records and for our members online. Thank you very much. So do we have any questions on this first item? Yes, over here.
Hi, it's Samantha Collett. I just wanted to ask, you've made a big thing about the WeWork offices and the cost savings, and I just wondered, given they've gone bump, what you were thinking in the future and how you might adapt to this?
I'll take it, yeah, that's fine. Thank you, very good question. Many of you might have seen that in the US, they filed for Chapter 11, which is bankruptcy, and that actually gives them the opportunity to be able to restructure. I don't think they were very business savvy out there in particular, so that gives them some breathing space out there. In the UK, it's not affected in the same way, but they are a business and they will close buildings down if they're not profitable for them, which you can kind of understand. So from that point of view, we've been in contact with the management there. This is the bit where I say touch wood, that there's no plans to close International House, which is where we are. It is cost effective for us. It works very well for the staff as well. It's a good buzzy environment, and we have our own offices within there. So as it stands right now, and you know, anything can happen tomorrow, but we've got a good deal there. We have a lease that doesn't expire until September 25, I think. We locked in before all the gas and electric rises, so we've got an exceptionally good deal. So I think you'll have to pull us out of there kicking and screaming, I think, as it is right now. But it is a lot smaller than previous offices that we've had, and it works well with our hybrid excuse me, our hybrid working. So because there's no point in having desks available when the staff aren't coming in 5 days a week. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Hopefully that answers that question. No worries.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Do we have any other questions on this particular item? Thank you. In that case, may I ask for a proposer and a seconder for the resolution, which is to receive and adopt the Board of Directors' report and accounts for 1st April 22 to 31st March 23. And if you raise your hands, we'll then take your name and details. So may I ask for a proposer? Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Oh, Di at the front. So we have Diana Redmond as the proposer and the seconder. Sir, would you? Charles Kelly. Many thanks. We will vote by a show of hands, and please remember, only ordinary and successor members of ALCS are entitled to vote, and if you've already voted online, as some may have done, please don't vote again. So please may we have a show of hands for all those in favour. Thank you very much indeed. And may we have a show of hands for those against? Thank you. And any abstentions? Thank you very much. And now I can confirm that we have also received the following votes online on this item. This should magically appear here. Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. I'm delighted to confirm that the ALCS 22-23 Directors' Report and Accounts have been adopted. Thank you very much. And now we're on to agenda item 2, which is to receive and adopt the annual transparency report for 22-23. Hopefully you've all had the opportunity to have a look at this annual transparency report. Before we vote, once again, are there any questions on this report? It is specific to this item, and if you wish to speak, please do wait for the microphone and introduce yourselves. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Linda Hall, and I'm a writer and lecturer. I just have a question. I think charitable donations appear in this section, don't they? And I have a question on that. It appears there are significant sums given to bodies with close affinity to writers, and of these bodies, the use of how do you monitor and evaluate the appropriateness of these bodies' use of the monies that we give, especially in application to, say, something like the Centre for Literacy in Primary Education?
Thank you for that question. We actually have a cultural support and development fund that the board has approved. There's very clear criteria. So we actually invite applications for this. We send an email out to authors' organisations each August. We get applications in September, and actually we had a board meeting yesterday where we looked at this year's applications. So there's, I think, 7 or 8 different criteria that we look against. The application form, they have a template that needs to be filled out that shows, if I'm honest about it, what's in it for ALCS as well, because obviously whilst we want to support authors' organisations and authors, we need to make sure that we get back the kudos for that sponsorship. So we have our communications team monitor this, work with the organisations, make sure they have whatever they need from ALCS to make sure that we are getting the benefit, making sure that people know about ALCS and monitor what happens. And I think if you look at our social media, it's regularly reported on against there as well. Did that answer the question? Yeah, of course.
How do you have to monitor and actually evaluate the appropriateness of the monies that you provide to such organisations? Because the emphasis, or the main word for me anyway, since I'm working in the field of education, is literacy. How do you know that literacy is being addressed adequately?
I think from that point of view, we get a report at the end of each of the applications to show us that, and then we can consider whether we would then make another, if they applied the following year, we wouldn't approve that or put that forward to the board for approval if it hadn't met our criteria. Yes, we do. Depends on how deep you want to go here. I mean, we do the best that we can do with the knowledge that we have, and we ask supplementary questions if there's any concern about the money that's going out. So it's quite a rigid process. I can't say that we have literary experts combing through these, but they are organisations typically that we are aware of and that we've seen the benefit of, that we have worked with them quite often before. So I'm not sure that I can probably go into the depth that you're looking for there, if I'm totally honest. But at the same time, we've got a very rigorous criteria that we look at. Very happy to share that with you. Okay, no worries at all.
Thank you very much. And yes, I think we'd be delighted to share those criteria. And we have a very high level of discussion on the board, and several of us are full-time educators on the board, authors of textbooks and so on. So we do, I believe, have a high-quality discussion there. Thank you very much for that question. Do we have any other questions on the annual transparency report? In that case, I would like to ask for a proposer and a seconder for the resolution to adopt the annual transparency report. So once again, please raise your hands and give your name. Simon Danchuk. Yeah. Simon Danchuk. Thank you very much, our proposer, and our seconder. Heather Higgins. Thank you very much indeed. In that case, can we have a show of hands for those in favour of the resolution to receive and adopt the annual transparency report? Those in favour. Thank you very much indeed. And those against? Thank you. And any abstentions? Thank you very much. And I can now confirm that we've received the following votes online on this, as you'll see on the screen. Fantastic. I'm delighted to confirm that the annual transparency report has been adopted. And I'd like to introduce item number 3, which is to reappoint Messrs. Shipley's LLP of 10 Orange Street, London, as the auditors of the company and to authorise the directors to fix their remuneration, that is, the remuneration of the auditors. The third item of the formal proceedings regards the appointment of our auditors. The Finance and Audit Committee review the service quality of the auditors and the needs of the organisation, and their recommendation is the reappointment of Mrs. Shipley's LLP as our external auditors. Can I ask if we have any questions on this agenda item? Thank you. If there are no questions, then I'll move to a vote, and once again, may I ask for a proposer and a seconder for the resolution to reappoint Mrs. Shipley's as the auditors of the company. Thank you so much, sir. Simon Lewis. Lewis, fantastic, our proposer, and a seconder. Sir.
Sorry, John Barnes.
John Barnes, fantastic, thank you very much indeed. And now a show of hands for those in favour of the resolution. Thank you very much. And for those against? And any abstentions? Thank you very much. And I can confirm that we received the following online votes for this item. Can we explain what discretionary means? Probably best for... So discretionary, yes, sorry, I just wanted to double check that. Discretionary is when someone can indicate that their vote should go with the chair's vote in the room on the day. So it's like a proxy vote. So I was waving on that. Thank you very much indeed. I can confirm then the reappointment of Messrs. Shipley's LLP as the auditors for ALCS. Thank you so much. We move to item number 4, which is to consider, and if thought appropriate, approve the recommendations of the Remuneration Committee regarding directors' fees for 23-24. The Remuneration Committee has made the recommendation that the remuneration paid to directors should not be increased this year. Do we have any questions on this agenda item? Yes, of course. Okay, could you just wait for the microphone? Thank you.
Ignorances, but what are those fees? How much in real terms?
Mark? Or Barbara?
It's £10,633, to be exact.
Thank you for your question.
Per annum, I should add.
Yes,
not per board meeting.
Yes. In that case, if there are no questions...
Oh, sorry, I think...
Oh, I'm sorry, please. Yes, if you could just wait for the microphone. Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Samantha Collett. Sorry, I was just confused why you weren't increasing the fees, given the level of inflation and given that we're saying how writers are not being paid properly for their work. And so I'm just a little bit surprised by that.
Do you want me to answer? We regularly benchmark directors' fees, and we felt that it was within a certain tolerance level on the benchmark. So they're benchmarked every 3 years against other similar organisations. So we just want to make sure that they are in line. Does that help?
And I think I should
nobody's walked off as yet, so I'm guessing so.
But you're right that I think it's very important. Our directors are working writers, and it's very important that people are remunerated to a level that the job can be done well by a writer from any background, and that's what the benchmarking is for. And there was a very good conversation about it, and we wouldn't hesitate to raise it as deemed appropriate. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks.
Do we have any further questions? In that case, can I please ask for a proposer and a seconder for the resolution on the director's remuneration? Proposer? Oh, yes, there. Eki Diona.
Please.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Lovely, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And a seconder? I think we had a gentleman there. Yes. Adrian Phillips, thank you very much indeed. Could we please have a show of hands for those in favour of the motion? Thank you very much indeed. And anyone against? I shouldn't say anyone against. And those against? Thank you very much. And any abstentions? Thank you. And I can confirm we have received the following votes online on this item on screen. Thank you. And I can confirm then that the director's fees have been approved at the rate set for 23-24. Next we have agenda item 5, which is to consider and, if thought appropriate, approve the passing of the following resolution as a special resolution, that the draft regulations available for inspection on the voting website be adopted as the memorandum and articles of association of the company, to the exclusion of and in substitution for the existing memorandum and articles of association of the company. And to explain what that means, I would like to invite Richard Coombs, our Deputy Chief Executive, to talk you through it. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, everyone. I hope that the explanatory notes that were provided with the papers before the AGM provided some useful explanation about the changes being proposed to the articles, but just to briefly summarise what that means. Next year, we anticipate that the government will reintroduce legal regulations relating to something called extended collective licensing. These rules enable licensing bodies like ALCS to seek a government authorisation to expand its licensing and distributions to include non-members. This facility is useful both for maintaining the value in existing licensing, but also when we're seeking new areas of licensing as well. When seeking such authorisations, it is considered good practice to have a director whose duties include representing the interests of those non-members. The board is therefore proposing a small change to the articles to allow for such an appointment, and as with any board appointments, that person will be subject to approval by you, the members, at the next subsequent annual general meeting.
Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Do we have any questions? Yes, sir. Can I ask you just to wait for the microphone? Sorry, just wait for the microphone so those online can hear as well. Thank you.
Who are the non-members? How does that...
This is actually formalising a position that we currently operate. I spoke to a number of you before the meeting about that wonderful moment when we phone you up and say, we're ALCS and we've got money for you. And people say, this must be a scam. And we say, no, it's real. They're the non-members who then say, okay, well, I'd like to join ALCS. It's actually part of what we already do. The change is that next year the government's going to put in place laws that formalise that position. Because there's an outside possibility that one such person could say, how dare you, you've infringed my copyright, I didn't let you license my book to generate this sum of money. They don't say that, they always say, that's wonderful, where do I sign? But it's a change in the law, and we want to avail ourselves of that, because when we're in a challenging licensing environment, if we can say we've got the backing of a government authority, it helps us to seek those licenses. So this is the option for the board to have an independent person sitting alongside them whose role would include representing the interests of those non-members. But in reality, we're formalising an existing position.
Thank you very much, Richard. Do we have any other questions on this item? Thank you. In that case, may I ask for a proposer and a seconder to consider and, if thought appropriate, approve the passing of the special resolution. A proposer? Joanne Harris, thank you very much. And a seconder? Yes, thank you. Louise Mulvey. Thank you very much indeed. And could we please have a show of hands for those in favour? Thank you. And those against? Thank you. And any abstentions? Thank you very much. And I can confirm that we received the following votes online on this item. Pleased to confirm that the special resolution has been passed. Thank you very much. The next resolution is agenda item 6, which is to approve the appointment of Kit Fan as a director of the company in accordance with Article 35C of the company's Articles of Association. So you will have seen Kit's biography in your voting pack. I'm not going to ask him to stand up again, but he's here. Do we have any questions on this agenda item? Thank you. Well, in that case, may I please ask for a proposer and a seconder for the resolution to consider and, if thought appropriate, approve the appointment of Kit Fan as a director. Proposer? And your name, sir? John Stubbs. Thank you very much. And a seconder? Maggie G. I know that one. Thank you very much indeed. Could we please then have a show of hands for those in favour? Thank you very much. And against? Thank you. And any abstentions? And I can confirm, thank you, that we received the following online votes on this item. So I'm delighted to confirm that Kit Fan has been approved as a director of ALCS. And our final item is agenda item 7, which is to approve the appointment of Edwin Thomas, who cannot be with us today, but has been a very active member of the board, I'm glad to say, as a director of the company in accordance with Article 35C of the company's Articles of Association. So again, you will have seen Edwin's biography in your voting pack. Do we have any questions on this agenda item? In that case, may I please ask for a proposer and a seconder for the resolution to consider and, if thought appropriate, appoint Edwin Thomas as a director of ALCS. A proposer. Thank you very much. Heather and the...
Bateman.
Sorry.
Yep.
I think she's got better hearing than me. And thank you so much. And a seconder. Helen Blakeman. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And in that case, could we please have a show of hands for those in favour? Thank you. And those against? And any abstentions? Thank you. And I can confirm that we received the following votes online on this item. I'm delighted to confirm that Edwin Thomas has been approved as Director of ALCS, as a Director. Thank you so much. We're coming towards the conclusion of our AGM, and there'll be plenty of time for us to meet and just talk afterwards, and I very much hope you will come up and introduce yourselves and do so. But before we do that, I'd just like to offer an opportunity for our members to ask questions to the Executive of the work of ALCS. If you have any, then please do raise your hands and wait for the microphone. So if anyone has anything pertaining to the general work of ALCS. Yes, sir. If you just wait for the microphone. Thank you very much.
Jonathan Bowen, Professor of Computing. The British Library have recently been hacked and are basically down. What are you doing about if you were hacked?
A very good question. And I should say I'm on the British Library Advisory Council, but it wasn't my fault.
You would say that.
Should Rob take this one, do you think?
What are we doing about
What are we
about
doing?
it?
Yes.
I mean,
yes. So, Barbara, after you, I think.
No, I mean, I'm quite happy unless Rob, our Chief of or Head of Technology there, would like to answer. But I mean, I can assure you that we've got very robust cyber security protocols in place. We've moved over to the, I was going to say the sky, the cloud. You can tell how technology friendly I am. But what I do know is that we have various hacking attack. We try and have people try and hack into the sites, etc. So we've had surveys on this. We've been working with different partners. We are obviously always looking at our security, mainly because certain times of the year, normally somewhere around March or September, we're actually out on social media saying, "Oh, we're going to be handing out, some money to our members," and that's the bit that really does keep everybody, I think, awake at night. But I don't know if you'd like to come up and say a little bit more.
A wonderful answer, Barbara. I'd love to talk to anyone about that a little more momentarily, but I would say our move to the WeWork that you just saw in the video and the move of most of our systems to the cloud has really improved our security posture in that respect. So whilst no system can truly say it's 100% bulletproof, I would say that we are in a very strong position, and the board have approved a wide program of works over the next 12 to 18 months to make even further improvements in that respect. And the strategic systems project as well that you saw highlighted in that video also has a very strong security arm to it. We're very conscious of the fact that we're holding on to all of your data, and there's a heck of a lot of money passing through the systems here. So it's something we absolutely don't take lightly at all.
Thank you very much, Rob. And that's a great question, and it's very much front of mind for the board in terms of risk. And I would encourage you to talk to Rob afterwards, who can talk you through some of the details. But it's something we take very seriously and we're very aware of. So thank you for that question. Yes.
John Flowerdew, Professor of Linguistics. I see in the transparency report there's a mention of a campaign against the government's policy on the exception to copyright permitting text and data mining. I'd be interested to hear a bit of background on this government policy and what you're trying to do about it.
Perfect. I'm pointing at Richard, who is very eloquent on this front. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So the background to that particular piece of policy, it was a consultation whereby the government was looking at various options for dealing with the use of a work via text and data mining, which is essentially analysing subject matter in full so that you can interrogate it for information like keywords, certain results. And they were looking to, I think, perhaps bring us closer to Europe in this area. I think, as we heard earlier, there was an important piece of European legislation around copyright that we missed by several months because of Brexit, but that had provisions in it around text and data mining. So I think the polite way of putting it, this was a slightly ham-fisted attempt to bring us up to speed without due consideration of the outcome. And the consultation resulted in a suggestion that there should be a very broad copyright exception for text and data mining, not just for non-commercial research, but for everything. So it could be for businesses, it could be very much for commercial purposes. And generally, copyright exceptions are used sparingly and certainly not to make works fully available for commercial uses. So when this result from the consultation was made public, I think it's fair to say that the copyright community came together in its condemnation of it, saying that there were other more appropriate options that could have been investigated. And following that pressure, the government decided to withdraw that exception, which was subsequently endorsed by the Culture, Media and Support Select Committee, and is something that's been also picked up by the Science and Technology Committee in terms of the proper enforcement and protection of copyright in the field of artificial intelligence generally, of which text and data mining is a small element. So that was the background, but I think as we heard on the panel, I wouldn't say this area is completely closed now as a debate. As Tom said, we're looking with our partners to find legitimate ways of licensing text and data mining, and that's before we get to the much broader and vexed question of generative AI. So that was the background to that. It was a bit of fairly rash policy making, I think, but thankfully the error of it was seen quite quickly, but it is part of an ongoing debate in this area that I think we will be returning to.
Thank you very much, Richard. And I have one more question at the back there. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Yuri Gabriel. I, at one time long ago, was the chair of this organization. The question I have is, what new sources of income are being chased?
Thank you.
Back again.
Just Richard's up and down.
Thank you, Yuri. So we're looking at income in a number of areas at the moment. I think something fairly major to alert you to, but we'll talk more about it next year, is that we've seen on some of the information we've provided how robust and resilient some of these agencies that were put in place a long time ago by people like Yuri and others, ALCS, the CLA, the PLR, and I think our challenge has been where else can we go to find new monies so that when eventually the existing revenues do start to tail off, we can replace them. So something that we'll be talking about next year is something similar to the Copyright Licensing Agency, but for audiovisual works, for TV and film, which we've imaginatively called AVLA. And it takes a long time to set these things up because you're putting together partners and different people with different interests. And to a certain extent, it's a little bit easier with publishing because you've got a publisher, an author, and perhaps a visual artist. With TV and film, there's a lot of stakeholders. There are producers, directors, etc. So it's taken a while to do it, but we've now got this group together. And we'd like to use that group, that licensing agency, to look at digital, to look at platforms, for example, YouTube, TikTok, that use vast quantities of commercial TV and film, but there's no mechanism in place to collect that money and pay it back to the script writers, the directors. The argument that's made against, the argument that the AI companies make, this is all too difficult. The amount of money paid to individuals is not worth it. So the more of these things that we can set up, and as I say, they do take a while to establish, but we can disprove that argument. Another area we're looking very closely at, and there will be more on this actually in a few weeks at our parliamentary group, we'll be launching a new piece of research that's been done for us around freelance journalists, and in particular, the vast sums of money that are currently being made by platforms like Google and to a lesser extent Facebook by scraping news journalism from their publisher sites, putting it on their own sites, and then making huge sums of money from advertising that's around it. And some work has estimated this revenue around the £1 billion mark. There are various agreements in place with publishers, but they're shrouded in NDAs, so we don't know exactly what they say. But again, there's no mechanism in place for the writers of the journalism or the photographers to receive a share of that money. So that's also on the agenda for next year, to put together a body that's capable of offering a license to those kind of technical platforms to do that. In terms of bringing all this together as a sort of direction of travel for business development, I would say look out for announcements around May next year, unless there's a general election, in which case it might be a bit later. But our parliamentary group will be launching a major campaign where we're really looking to make the case for a lot of secondary use payments in the digital space. So I think the sort of 44, 45 million still does relate to what we might call analogue uses. And this is the nut we have to crack next. And as we've already heard today, the sort of pace with which these things move becomes incrementally faster. So it's absolutely incumbent on us to do it now and to do it fast. So look out for next spring, where we'll be launching a major campaign on that.
Thank you very much for the question and for a very thorough answer, Richard. And I look forward to reporting back next year. Sir.
So just from what you said, can I just add a little more? Because you talk about films and TV. I wonder whether you go to YouTube as well, thinking about that, because there are quite a lot of people. I mean, just inadvertently, I put lectures online during the pandemic, and there are about 30 of them. They go worldwide, and I've never even bothered to follow anything up. And although I have 1,000 or so subscribers, it's a specialist area, so not that many. But there's a threshold over which you have to go before you get paid anything, which means there's quite a lot of people who are putting things onto YouTube and they don't get paid at all. So would these be worth looking into as a way of extracting revenue from YouTube, particularly as they're getting revenue from the adverts that appear on all the things? So it might be just another area to look for possible income.
Cloning. Yes, I mean, I understand that is obviously the relationship that you have with YouTube, the sort of agreement. So to some extent, that might be a firewall we can't break through, but where we've already got mechanisms in place to license, say, the university sector, for example, it may be that we can do something collectively with the owners of online lectures, etc. That is something that we've got on our long list of things to look at, because I think post the pandemic, the value in that has become quite clear. But as you say, the sort of profit-sharing mechanisms are quite weighted in favour of the platforms. So I think that's certainly something we've got on our list, but we'd have to work out how to get around any agreements that have been signed with YouTube first.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And yeah, can I just add very quickly to that, because I don't know, someone else said, would you like to have your own website set up? So someone set up a website for me, sort of through the university, and that has all of these things on, which then go to my website and then go to YouTube. So again, I've no idea what the legal side of this is, because I couldn't really be bothered to face that, but it might be of interest to you.
It's definitely something we're looking at. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm conscious that we're getting through our drinks time, but I have one more question over here, and then I think I'll invite us to move downstairs and continue talking. Please.
Thanks, Tom. It's Paul Powell. I'm a former director of ALCS. I just wondered, on behalf of the members, if we could note our thanks to the late Janet Anderson, who passed away in February this year, who was a very enthusiastic supporter of ALCS. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. Yes. Thank you so much for those questions. I think we've run out of time for questions here, but if there's anything else you want to ask or discuss, please do speak to one of the senior leadership team during the reception downstairs, or any of the staff or board members. We've got the fancy name badges with the magnets on the back. And as we come towards the end of this AGM, I would just like to thank the board of directors and ask all current members of the board to stand, if you would, please. I'm not going to. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So the role of being a director requires a very high level of commitment and expertise and energy, and your board maintains these qualities through long and demanding board meetings and in the sometimes challenging committee work that board members undertake. And so, as we have just done, I would like, on behalf of all our members, to thank the directors for their hard work and dedication. As you've heard today, it's been a very busy and a very successful year for ALCS, and none of it would have been possible without the ALCS staff. The enthusiasm and the commitment of each member of our staff is what makes ALCS work so well. And so, finally, on behalf of all our members, I would like sincerely to thank the ALCS staff. Thank you. And that concludes our AGM. So please, I hope you will join us downstairs for some refreshments. Feel free to speak with us, members of the board and ALCS staff, and I hope you will enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much indeed.